Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Mike Hoffar, US Chess President. Welcome to tonight's Special Delegates Meeting, where we will work a motion that authorizes the sale of the US Chess headquarters. Those of you that attended the one or both of the two town halls that we held, appreciate you doing that, because we took several ideas from those town halls. And as a matter of fact, we took more ideas from the second town hall, which we'll talk about tonight as we work this issue. Next slide, please, Carol. Okay, so as we get into the discussion portion of the motions, not the voting to make a substitute motion, the main motion as an example, as we get into the discussion of the motions, if you have any amendment to those motions that are relevant to the motion, please send them to Dan Lucas's email address at dlucas@uschess.org. So, and you can put them on a Word document or send them through email, but don't put them in the chat, because we're not going to pull that. We're not going to pull those amendments out of the chat. Your video, important. Your video must be on for the meeting tonight. If your video goes off, you're considered not present. And your video has to be on, and you have to be, your face have to be in the video. So like Guy Hoffman, all I see is a lamp. I don't see your face. So again, if you haven't changed your name yet in the naming in Zoom, just right click on your name and you can change your name to show what state that you are associated with. That's important, as we have some staff tonight who are making sure we have a quorum, and it's easier to know who you are because we can find what state that you're from. And if you need to communicate with the chair, send a direct message, and we will have the general portion, the general chat, that's where messages go to everyone. That'll be monitored by a couple of members of the EB, David Hayter and Randy Bauer, are pulling duties on that. Next slide, please. So the context, for those of you who went to the town halls, this will be a little bit of a repeat, but it's still important. The executive board had voted to move, under the authority of the bylaws, move the headquarters to St. Louis. And so we passed that motion. I think it was back in January or December or January, one or the other.
January.
We passed that motion. And so to then sell, to sell the building, because we're going to have a property that we're going to vacate, to sell that building requires action on the part of the delegates. So us, all of you, it requires action on the part, on the part of the board, or on the part of the board of delegates. And so we developed a draft motion. To do that, we moved it over to bylaws to have bylaws work it and take a look at it. Bylaws asked several questions that prompted us to seek legal counsel. And so we developed a substitute motion. And if you were in the town halls, you've seen that substitute motion. Then after the second town hall yesterday, on a Monday evening, I don't see Alex Lemelski, but I know, yeah, I see Alex. He's on the line here. But Alex Lemelski had a revelation at 3 o'clock in the morning. He said, I have a way to simplify this motion and make it more clean, more crisp, and to also address some of the concerns that the delegates have raised during the town hall meetings. So Alex will have a chance to introduce literally the substitute of what is the substitute. So we're going to do introduce the original motion, which is a very short one. Then we'll introduce a substitute, and we will vote to make that substitute the main motion. And then we will be able to discuss that main motion. And when that happens, Alex is going to step up right away and propose a substitute for that motion that we will then vote on and make the main motion, and then discuss that second substitute. So that's the procedure we're going to go through. And I think all of you will, see that friendly substitute that Alex has put together is really clean. And it spells out in very succinct language, what it is that we all been talking about during the town halls and for the last couple of weeks through email and in the forums and in Facebook and everywhere else. So we think that this is going to, really move us to where we need to go. Pardon the pun, if you will. Next slide. So calling the meeting to order, I'm doing my comments. So I'd like to ask, first of all, of the staff, do we have a quorum?
Yes, there are 84 participants.
Okay, so and the quorum is what, 48, Carol, is that right? Yeah, so we have 84. So again, please keep your video on because it's important that that video is on. But we do have a quorum established for this evening. I'll ask David Hayter, who chaired a committee of 3, to take a look at conflicts of interest. And I'm sorry, David Day, who took a look at conflicts of interest statements along with Leila Decan and Kimberly Dew. And David, are there any conflicts of interest that need to be disclosed?
There's not any that are relevant to the agenda items that we have tonight. We do have a handful of people who've not submitted their conflict of interest motions.
Okay. If you still need to submit your conflict of interest motion, there are instructions in your delegates packet about how to do that. Okay, or your conflicts of interest document. All right. The next order of business for us is this time to appoint a parliamentarian. All of us miss the expertise of Ken Ballou, rest his soul. And we were fortunate, last year to have someone who could step in and fill the role quite ably. But it was time for us to determine and identify someone who we can get trained in Robert's rules and so, literally sent to school, but to learn how to do Robert's Rules of Order, and then make that person, our parliamentarian, going forward. And so we start tonight by, I move that Andy Ray from Florida be appointed as our parliamentarian. So Carol, let's call up the vote, please. So she's going to bring the voting mechanism up. And when the voting mechanism becomes active, you better select, yes, no, maybe. Okay, so you can for, against, or abstain. Yeah, Carol, those of us who are co-hosts don't have the ability to vote.
That's correct. But we can ask around the table if how people want to be recognized as voting, and we can add that to the total for the record. So Jen or Rose, if you can jot that down. Maybe the way to do that, Mike, is to ask if there's any opposition from anybody who's been named a co-host.
Yeah, is there anyone, like I haven't been able to vote. I vote in favor of Andy being the parliamentarian. Randy?
I vote also in favor.
I also.
Okay.
I'm
Kevin,
in favor. Yeah.
Chuck Unruh, were you able to cast a vote?
I'm not able to vote on my machine. I'm in favor.
Okay. David Day?
Yeah, I'm in favor also. I agree with Carol's suggestion. Maybe it just makes sense to ask for anybody who's not in favor of that.
Yeah.
Co-host.
Although when we get to the main motion, I think we'll probably want to do it audibly.
David Hayter?
I'm in favor.
John Fernandez?
I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to end the poll.
Looks pretty good.
So Andy, how about introducing yourself briefly?
Yes, thank you, Mike. I appreciate the vote of confidence from my fellow delegates. We have one motion on the agenda. We have to start with the original motion that was brought forward in January. But although that will be the only motion that will be discussed, and any amendments to this will have to be through the ordinary amendment procedure, it needs to be recognized that we have that process, and we most certainly do. It's already been outlined and will probably be noted again as far as if you want to make an amendment, you can send that amendment to Dan Lucas. Okay, we have an email contact for him as far as that is concerned. Obviously, we need to have a process for being able to speak for or against the motion. And we have that as well. You will go to the reactions at the bottom of your screen. And then when you click on reactions, there'll be raise hand. And that's where you'll be able to take and get in line to be recognized by the chair.
Okay, thank you,
When
Andy.
you introduce, when you come on board, you'll state your name, your state, and whether you are for or against. It's not quite as simple when we have the in-person meetings to try to align the for mic and the against microphone. So when you're designating whether you're for or against, that'll help the chair to be able to balance as far as the recognition is concerned. You will get 2 minutes for speaking time. You will be able to speak again, if you like. Once again, going through the matter of raising your hand, the chair will take and recognize everybody who has not yet spoken, who has their hand up, and will then review as far as for other people who have their hand raised. So you will get another chance to speak if you so desire. Okay, and I believe that is made noted. And again, 2 minutes time. We do not get to carry over time. So if the first time you spoke for 1 minute, you still get 2 minutes on your second round. You won't get 3 minutes. Okay,
thank you, Andy.
And then we have the matter of having to be able to vote. And we have already seen this in action. And I will note that for the matters that I've been speaking of, again, Ken Ballou did so much of the heavy lifting for our special delegates meeting annual version that we had some 2 years ago. I've had to do a minimum amount of heavy lifting in this regard. In any event, when you have the voting, you'll be able to vote for or against or abstain. You'll be able to see when the final tally is tabulated, how you voted, and then how the other delegates have voted, not individually, but collectively.
Okay.
Okay.
Next slide, please, Carol.
At this stage,
Okay.
I believe I can yield the floor.
Yeah, thank you. This is the original motion that was put together by the executive board a ways back and which was included in your delegates packet. So this is the main motion that is on the floor for discussion. And I'd like to introduce Randy Bauer from the executive board, who is going to speak and provide a little bit of background about what caused us to make a change in this motion based on some activities that were occurring within the bylaws, and then we'll show what the substitute motion is. And again, when we show the substitute motion, the first thing we must do is vote to make the substitute the main motion. And then we open the floor to discuss the new main motion. Okay, Randy?
Thank you, Mike. So this motion is similar to what may have occurred in the past as related to sale of property. When this was introduced in the bylaws committee for their discussion, it was raised that this didn't really get to what is required, not only the bylaws, but from the Articles of Incorporation. So that was a very good discussion. And, our approach throughout this has been to involve the delegates through their delegate appointed committee of the bylaws committee to get to what is right for us to do. So we then asked our legal counsel, who's corporate counsel, who knows the corporate law in Illinois, as to whether this was sufficient for us to, do what we want to do. And his response was useful, and it led us to put forward a substitute amendment, which or a substitute motion, which I think, Mike, now we would introduce, right?
Yes. So we'll give everyone a chance to take a look at this. But this is the proposed motion that the executive board recommends replace the original motion, and this will become the main motion on the floor. So we're going to first, read this, vote to have it become the main motion, and then we will discuss this motion. So the first vote you're going to do is not in favor of the motion or against it. It's just simply to have it become the main motion for discussion on the floor.
Right. And the main, what is different here after discussion with counsel and, quite frankly, what was pointed out by lawyers that are on the bylaws committee is that it is the LMA trust that owns the headquarters, and the authorization has to emanate from them. So what the delegates need to do is authorize them to, to sell the building. And, for those who may not, be clear on this, the LMA trust trustees are a delegate appointed committee. They're not appointed by the executive board. They're appointed by you all. And it's an 11-person committee that really includes what I think is kind of like a who's who of US Chess. It includes 5 former presidents, Steve Doyle, Leroy Dubeck, Beatrice Marinallo, Tim Redmond, Alan Priest, our current president, Mike Hoffpower, our vice president of Chuck Unruh, and others. I mean, this is a really important group of people that know our organization, and they're the ones that would be designated to do the sale and then ultimately to take the proceeds and do whatever they would deem is appropriate, which I think will be to invest them.
Carol, can you show the next slide, please?
So this is
the rationale Andy was talking about, right?
Right. This is just basically pointing out that the warranty deed is that it is the LMA trust and their trustees who are responsible for the property.
Okay, so at this time, the executive board moves that we had voted to internally within the executive board to replace the original motion with this particular motion right here. So now we will put that to a vote of the delegates. So go back up one slide, please, Carol. Yeah, there you go. So this is the motion we're going to vote on right now to have it become the main motion. So Carol, please show the poll. Yeah, we don't see it yet, so. Okay, replace original motion with substitutes. There's the poll.
Mike, I vote yes.
Okay,
I
Randy,
vote yes.
okay, Chuck Unruh, I see voted yes. David Day,
I'm voting yes.
I vote yes.
I heard Fun Fong vote yes. David,
Randy Bauer votes yes.
okay, David Hayter,
Yes.
okay, John Fernandez,
Yes.
Kevin Pryor,
Yes.
and Mike Hoffbar, I vote yes also. Okay, Carol, I think we can go ahead and end that poll. Okay, there you can see the results. Okay, so this motion is now on the floor for discussion. And to begin that discussion, I would like to introduce Mr. Alex Omelski from the great state of Connecticut, who is the architect of the new substitute that you're going to see that we are, and you should have received by email today, but that will replace, it's proposed that replace the motion that's now on the floor.
And can I, as the maker of the original motion, can I make a comment,
Yeah.
Mike?
Absolutely.
That is that I'm fully supportive of Alex's replacement motion. This was something that we discussed in the bylaws committee, which Alex is a member of, a delegate appointed member of. And I think does a good job of doing some things that should be done, like reporting on the results of the sale. So I thank you, Alex, for what I think is perfecting the prior amendment.
So Alex, you have the floor.
Someone needs to unmute him.
Yeah, David, you found him.
I'm trying to find him. He's not under the A's. Where?
I got him. I got it.
Where's he hiding?
The fun of Zoom meetings.
All right,
There he
thank
is.
you.
Floor is yours, Alex. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mike and Randy and David. As Mike and Randy have pointed out or summarized, the original motion that you just saw was presented to the bylaws committee. After that, we had to go to corporate counsel to check on which document is controlling for the purpose of this motion. And what we were told and what we discovered was that the LMA trust owns the real estate. And so neither the bylaws provision nor the articles of incorporation provision on delegate approval of real estate transactions is applicable to the motion. Instead, this paragraph of the LMA trust document is controlling, and we have to meet its requirements. The second version of the motion, which was, I think, put up by the EB with the help of David Day, legally, I think, covers everything, and the bylaws committee did not really make many comments on it. What really happened was that after some discussion, we kind of let the subject go, and the motion was put up for presentation here today. But after the town halls, especially the last town hall, I felt that the motion was a little bit confusing in terms of perhaps just getting to understand what is being asked for. So I decided to rewrite it, and then I presented it to the bylaws committee for comment, which unfortunately was just, I think, today, and also to the executive board. And the executive board took a look and they liked it. So I am proposing that the new motion be made as the substitute or the amended motion.
So you only had 2 seconds left. You must have practiced.
I didn't realize that. Didn't see
So nice, well, nicely explained. And when I saw this thing this morning, it was like, yep, this hits the nail right on the head. So what we're going to do now is to vote to make this motion become the main motion to replace the previous main motion. And then we will have the general discussion about this particular motion itself. Andy, you have your hand up.
Yes, it's my understanding the address is O'Brien with an apostrophe. Am I correct?
No.
Here's,
You are not. There is no apostrophe.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, Carol, so let's pull up that poll to have this motion replace.
There's raised hands, right?
Say that again.
I raised my hand. I don't know.
Well, if we shouldn't, all we should be doing is like points of information or something. We're not discussing, the merits and so forth of the motion, other than, something that may be related to replacing it.
Well,
So
it's a
like,
debatable motion.
Say that again.
It's a debatable motion.
It's what I'm not sure what you want to debate.
I don't want to debate it. I had my hand raised, right?
Yes.
So I'm allowed to discuss. I mean, it is a debatable motion.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I just want to say I support Alex's motion and would urge you all to support it. Maybe I didn't need to do that, but I felt that it was useful to say that.
Okay, so replacing the substitute with the motion or that's been recommended by Alex. So in the executive board, Randy Bauer has already voted yes. Chuck Unruh,
Yes.
John Fernandez,
I vote yes.
Fun Fong,
Yes.
David Day,
Yes.
David Hayter,
Yes.
Kevin Pryor,
Yes.
and Mike Hoffbar. I vote yes. So now this has become the main motion.
But you have to open it up to everybody else, right?
Yeah, it's already open.
Oh, okay. I couldn't see that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's 99% have said yes.
Okay. That's the problem with these Zoom meetings anyway.
Mike, should I go over the substance of the motion then?
Yeah, because now the motion is open for discussion. So the floor is open for discussion. Andy, you still have your hand in there. Is there something you wanted to say?
No, I had said what I wanted to say. I
Okay,
will
you gotta
lower
lower
my
your
hand.
hand. Yeah, lower your hand with that same button.
Done.
Okay, Randy.
No, I should lower my hand as well.
Okay, Alan Priest from Kentucky.
Need to unmute Alan.
There he is. Go ahead, Alan.
I hadn't been allowed to unmute yet. I have one concern about this language as one of the LMA trustees.
It's hard to hear you.
Can't hear him.
That better?
Yes.
I have one concern with this language as an LMA trustee. The declaration that the LMA trustee is acting in good.
Now you fading out again.
I have a concern about the language of accepted the best available offer, because just one point, the best available offer may not be the highest price.
That's why it's worded that way.
Good. I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding it correctly, since I'll be one of the.
No, I made sure not to say it's the highest price.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Larry Cohen.
Yeah. Larry,
Yes. Yes, Larry Cohen, Illinois. Point of information, as I recall, when we first obtained the land in Crossville, there was some sort of special provision for resale at like $1 or $5. However, I believe that's the land only. I believe here we're talking about the building, or are we talking about the building and the land in terms of sale? So that's my what I want to find out as far as the information. What exactly are we selling here?
Carol.
Yeah, it's the entire premises, and as long as we sell the building and the land as a unit, as a package, we are not under any further obligation to the city. And I believe there was also a time limit on if those things were to ever be decoupled. We're in the clear and able to sell the premises and the property.
I see Chris Prosser has his hand in the air. Turn the floor to Chris Prosser, please.
Yes, sir. Chris Prosser, Tennessee. I may be the only one, but I stand against this motion. Some 18 years ago, among hard times, Harry Sabine and Crossville worked very hard to secure a home for US Chess that was theirs. No landlord, no lease. Crossville admitted them with open arms. Here we are 18 years later, and we're told that US Chess is moving to St. Louis. So we met with our board of directors. They're all for it. Hey, we want to downsize. Let's sell the building in Crossville, buy a building in St. Louis. We were told that we're not going to buy, we're going to lease. It's a done deal. Okay, let's lease the building in Crossville. So to pay for the lease in St. Louis. We were told we're not going to lease. That's a done deal. So the only choice now given to us as delegates is, do we sell $1 million property or do we let it sit empty? Pretty easy choice. I thank the board for giving us that easy of a choice. It's almost like it was designed that way. So I have in front of me no appraisal of the building, no financial documents that tell me is it better to lease than to buy. No thing is it better to purchase than not purchase. I have no documents in front of me yet. As a delegate for my state, I'm asked to vote on the sale of $1 million building. I can't make that decision with nothing. If I were in a business, or I'd have to have something to make that decision. So I'm voting no, if for nothing else, to send a message back to the board in LMA that, hey, you give us nothing, but you expect us to vote on $1 million sale. Plus, I think we should buy land or buy a building in St. Louis. That's beside the point. But I think that we should be given something, and we've been given nothing. So I will vote no on this.
Okay, thank you. Randy Bauer.
So I have had several discussions on Facebook, US Chess, the page, and also on the USCF's own issues forum, where we have discussed this at length. And I have laid out the financial issues related to this. First of all, what the property has appreciated over 18 years is 2.99%. What the LMA investments are yielding is over 5%. There's no question about what's best for our investment purposes. But the biggest issue is US Chess's mission is chess-centered. It's not owning property. It's not managing property. It's not building buildings or maintaining them. And the costs associated with our current facility in Crossville are basically the same as what we will have for rental costs in St. Louis. This is a no-brainer. The executive board has looked at what it is we need as an organization, what we need in terms of flexibility for us to be able to scale our size needs as an organization. And we have determined that it is appropriate to rent. So that's what we're doing, and that is our choice. What is before the board now, or before the delegates now, is what do we do with this excess property? You can't just hold on to it. We have all the costs associated with it. We would have unrelated business income taxes if we tried to rent it. The point is, we should now sell that property. We will make a good return on our investment, and it's a good deal for US Chess.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Next on the floor is Leila Decan from Louisiana. Leila, I hope everything was okay in Louisiana there with the tornado.
It was okay for me, not for the folks in Araby, but thank you. I call the question.
Okay, the question has been called. The question has been called. So we'll have a vote on calling the question.
Are there any objections?
And are there any objections to calling the question?
Point of information,
Go ahead, Chuck.
the trustees of the LMA Trust, which I'm honored to serve as their elected chair, have unanimously voted to recommend the sale of the building.
Okay, so the poll is open for calling the question. The executive board members, Randy Bauer.
I vote yes on calling the question.
Okay, David Day. David Day, you got mic off.
I vote yes.
David Hayter,
Yes.
Kevin Pryor,
Yes.
Chuck Unruh,
yes,
Fun Fong,
Yes.
and John Fernandez,
Yes.
and Mike Hoffbar. I vote yes also. The question has been, the results of the poll, you can go ahead and end the poll and share, Carol. So the results of the poll are 69% for calling the question, 23% for against, with 8 abstentions. So the question has been called. And at this time, we move now to vote for the motion that's placed before us as the main motion. So Carol, go ahead and bring up the poll to vote on the main motion. Okay, there's the poll. Yeah, I'll go around the horn with the executive board. Randy Bauer,
Yes.
Chuck Unruh,
yes,
David Day,
Yes.
David Hayter,
Yes.
Kevin Pryor,
Yes.
Chuck Unruh,
yes,
yeah, Fun Fong,
Yes.
and John Fernandez,
Yes.
and Mike Hoffbar. I vote yes also. Give it a few more seconds for people to finish voting. Okay, what are the, go ahead and show the poll results, Carol, in the poll, and show the results.
And actually that, Mike, that result does not show the executive board number.
That's correct. It doesn't.
So it's more.
You'd add 8. Yeah, you'd add 8 to both the fours.
Right.
Okay, so this motion passes. So I want to thank Alex Lemelski for helping us all clarify our thinking. But I also take it, as president, that I understand and I can appreciate the points that have been raised by Tennessee and a few others. And, we have a commitment as this executive board to share, information about the sale of the property when that time comes. What did it sell for, and so forth, as specified in the motion. And we intend to do that as part of the, so that we have that information publicly available at the delegates meeting, so everyone can see if in fact the building sold by that time frame. We anticipate it will, with the government starting to raise interest rates. There's a potential for property values to start dropping, but we had as all of you may know, we had a $985 million appraisal on the building, and
Mike,
yeah, Carol.
985,000.
Yeah, that's a slight difference. $985,000 appraiser on the building. So we hoping we can get a decent price out of this thing, and provide those funds back to the LMA Trust, who was gracious to allow US Chess to build the building, create the building in Crossville in the first place, because without their assistance, we would not have been able to do that. So I would like to make a motion that we adjourn. Can I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, let's have a voting poll up, Carol, to adjourn the meeting.
It's gonna take a moment because I didn't set one up.
Okay, so let me do it this way. Who's opposed to adjourning? Just go ahead and raise your hand, and you'll go to the front of the queue. Alan, are you opposed to adjourning? Alan's opposed.
Is that a yes or no?
Is that a yes or no? Are you opposed to adjourning, Alan?
Alan's asking a question as far as the actual vote tally. Apparently it's not showing on his screen.
All we see are percentages. Can someone share what the actual number vote was, please?
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yes.
There's 69 in favor plus 8 executive board would be 77. 3 against, 3 abstain.
It's more than 50% plus 1.
Okay, is there anyone objecting to adjourning? Okay, the ayes have it, or the nays don't in this particular case. So we'll go ahead and adjourn, and again, appreciate everyone attending this evening, and we look forward to keeping you informed on the progress of this. I hope to see all of you in California, and looking forward to having a good US Open there. But have a good evening. Thank you for your time this evening as volunteers, and for your hard work as delegates, and those of you that are on committees for all the great work you do inside our committees. So have a good evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.